10 solid infantry division templates you could use in your next game. Oh yeah, keep in mind, all these stats are with next to no doctrine unlock and 1936 tech, so keep in mind that the stats are going to be a little low. 10 widths. 10 widths are pretty much the smallest division you could practically use in a game. Like, you can kind of just spam them out as China or some other nation and just, like, throw walls and walls of humans against the enemy like this. They have next to no soft attack, but what they do have is defense. And that's only enhanced by the entrenchment granted by the shovels. So they're a very good defensive unit you can just spam out. 6-1s. 6-1s are, I guess, a step up from your 10 wits. They have a little bit of bite with your artillery battalion. So, like, if you're playing a country like El Salvador or Tibet and you're just going to be fighting other small nations, this is a good early game template for your early conquests. You'll see these three support battalions and pretty much all these divisions. You have your engineer company for entrenchment and some terrain bonuses. You have your anti-air for that little bit of air attack to shoot down cast. And you also have recon, which buffs your artillery as well as gives you a little bit of reconnaissance that can give you the recon bonus in battle if your opponent has none. 7-2s. So 7-2s are a little bit outdated. They were the old meta for infantry divisions. They're just small. They have a lot of bite. They're pretty versatile. As you can see, the stats are still pretty good, but the reason that they aren't as prevalent anymore is because of the combat width and the changes that were made a couple patches ago. Right now, if you just crunch the numbers real quick, for plains tiles, it's a base of 70, so you can fit 3 of these, and then it's an extra 35 for each additional unit attacking, so you can fit a handful. And then similarly for forests, this 20 combat width number is also pretty effective, but truthfully, you can cram more in typically. Walls. So this is just like your textbook, just crap out a bunch of them. They're pretty cheap, and all they do is hold. So they have your one battalion of artillery, which honestly you can take or leave. You could replace it with another infantry battalion if you wanted to. The point of this is just to buff the defense stat as much as you can. So you have your anti-air again to repel enemy air superiority, as well as your shovel to grant entrenchment and buff defense. But this unit is really only ever going to be used for defense. 8-3s. So 8-3s are a slightly more optimal 7-2. They're still not the best ratio, but you know, you're just adding to the division. So that by default increases the stats. 25 combat width is the ideal combat width for fighting in mountains. So it has that slight advantage as well over your traditional 7-2. Mountaineers. So because 25 is the ideal combat width for mountains, naturally the 8-3 is basically what you're just going to use for your Mountaineers. Just replace your infantry battalions with your Mountaineer battalions, and then bam. This is your ideal Mountaineer template right here. 9-4s. So if you can't tell already, the trend is pretty much just add a little bit more if you can afford it. The 9-4 is 30 combat width, which is, you know, your happy medium, I would say, of versatility. 30 combat width, I would say, is one of the more versatile combat widths because it's ideal for forests, but it also fits very well into plains because there's only like a 5 combat width difference between the two tiles. So by adding another battalion of artillery and another battalion of infantry, you just make a beefier division. This is where I would say these divisions sort of get expensive, but their stats are worth it in the end because one really beefy division like this with 200 soft attack is going to beat out 4 others with far less. 11-4s. So 11-4s are the ideal combat width for plains tile. So all we've really done is add 2 more infantry battalions. This primarily buffs the defense, but it also grants a little bit more breakthrough and a good bit more organization. Once you start getting over 30 though, you'll start to see that you're going to have space issues and combat on anything besides plains tiles, so just be cautious of that. Marines. So because 35 is the ideal combat width for attacking into plains and urban tiles, since those are the most common types of terrain that you're going to be naval invading into, it also makes sense to make this the combat width for a Marines template. So like the Mountaineers, just take your 11-4s and just replace the infantry battalions with Marines, and then bam, there you go. A pretty bomb Marine division right there. Space Marines. So a couple patches ago, I don't really remember, Armored Recon and Flame Tanks got a significant buff, which made them worth adding to your infantry divisions as support companies to give it an armor bonus. But since then, the meta has seen some changes, and it seems like this is the new iteration of the Space Marines template. It has an armor of 25 thanks to the medium self-propelled anti-air that I've added to the division. This amount is basically unpierceable by any infantry division that the AI is going to spit out. The anti-air also gives a good amount of piercing as well as air attack to deal with enemy planes. And of course it's built off of the back of an 11-4, so it has a lot of soft attack built into it already. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you learned something.